these inverse trig functions. In part I, we got sine inverse sine negative pi over 4. As I said in the previous video, for sine and tangent, we can pull the negative outside. This negative here, because sine is an odd function, sine inverse is also odd function, so that negative can be pulled all the way outside. So this is simply negative sine inverse of sine pi over 4. And sine inverse of something, the final value will be, the angle should be always in the first quadrant or negative of first quadrant. That's the fourth quadrant. But since we can pull negative outside, we can always answer in the first quadrant. Oh, pi over 4 is in first quadrant. That means sine inverse and sine, their actions cancel. So answer is negative pi over 4. But if this angle is in second quadrant or somewhere else, we can't do this. Okay, or we can equivalently find the value of sine pi over 4, because pi over 4 is standard angle. Looking at unit circle, you can find the value, which is root 2 over 2, and sine inverse of root 2 over 2 is back to pi over 4. So in either case, negative pi over 4. Okay, here cosine inverse cosine pi over 4. Don't simply cancel this. For cosine inverse of something, the answer is always either in the first or in the second. Okay, so cosine inverse of this one, if this angle is in bigger than 0 but less than equal to pi, then we are good. But this is pi over 4 is bigger than pi, so that's in third quadrant, so it's not good. Can't simply cancel and write down answer. But pi over 4 is a standard angle. Looking at a unit circle, we can find the value of pi over 4. So let me do that. Cosine inverse of cosine pi over 4. Look at the unit circle. Okay, you will see the value negative root 2 over 2. Cosine means x coordinate. Now, don't pull negative outside. We can't for cosine inverse. Now look at the first or second. Obviously negative means second quadrant, where cosine has root 2 over 2. So find the angle where x coordinate is negative root 2 over 2. So this is part of unit circle. For second quadrant, negative root 2 over 2 is here, so that is 3 pi over 4. So the answer is 3 pi over 4. Okay, here is K. Sine inverse and sine cancel if this angle lies in first quadrant or negative of first quadrant. We don't have negative, so the 4 pi over 3 is where? It's bigger than 4 over 3 means 1.33, bigger than pi. Okay, this should not be bigger than pi over 2. But 4 pi over 3 is a standard angle. Look at the unit circle. So this is sine inverse of, let's find the value of sine 4 pi over 3 using the unit circle. Sine means y coordinate, so 4 pi over 3, that is here somewhere. Okay, just look at here, y coordinate. Okay, that will be negative root 3 over 2. Okay, now for sine inverse and tangent inverse, we can pull the negative outside. That leaves sine inverse of root 3 over 2. Now look at the first quadrant and write down the final answer. So negative sine inverse of root 3 over 2. So we want to look at the angle where y coordinate is root 3 over 2 in first quadrant, that's pi over 3. Okay, here is 1, root 3 over 2 is here, so pi over 3. So the answer is negative pi over 3. Cosine inverse cosine 2 pi over 3. for cosine inverse of something, cosine inverse comes out in first and second quadrant. If this angle is bigger than 0 but less than pi, then they cancel. The answer would be just that. Where is 2 pi over 3? Oh, 2/3 of pi, that is less than pi. Okay, that means their actions simply cancel, and 2 pi over 3 is the answer. Or you can find the value of cosine 2 pi over 3. Okay, that will be negative number. Then cosine inverse of that number means, look at the x coordinate where cosine has, or x coordinate, look at the angle where the x coordinate is that value. Okay, at the end of the day, 2 pi over 3. Here same thing, we can cancel as long as this angle is in the first quadrant or negative of first quadrant. Pi over 3, that's the 60 degrees in the first quadrant, yes, so negative, which is also good. Then we can simply cancel. The answer is just negative pi over 3. Okay. Here we could have done the same thing in part I. Sine inverse and tangent, they behave the same way. As long as this angle is in first quadrant or negative of first quadrant, just that. Or you can simply pull outside, or we could have done like pull outside, and then pi over 3 is in first quadrant. It's good. Then we can simply cancel. That's the answer. For cosine, oh, sine inverse cosine, oh, they are not the same. So we need to evaluate inside, then work with this one. Okay, we can't cancel. So sine inverse of, what is the value of cosine pi over 6? Now need to look at the unit circle, angle pi over 6. Cosine means x coordinate. So pi over 6, second quadrant, and x coordinate, negative root 3 over 2. Okay, so cosine pi over 6 has value negative root 3 over 2. Now this is sine inverse of negative. We can pull negative for sine inverse and tangent inverse. Okay, now negative root 3 over 2, we look at first quadrant all the time for sine inverse and tangent inverse, because we can pull negative outside. Root 3 over 2 means y coordinate being root 3 over 2. Oh, here again, so pi over 3. Final.